My dear friends, I am taking second question, doctrine of estoppel and its kinds. In first question I have taken doctrine of estoppel and its essential. And the definition of doctrine of estoppel has been given in the first question. But in short, I am defining here also. Doctrine of estoppel. There is said to be an estoppel where a party is not allowed to say that a certain statement of fact is untrue, whether in reality it is true or it is not true. This is the definition of doctrine of estoppel, or this is the, you can say, meaning of the doctrine of estoppel in short. And in first question, you can read this definition in detail. Now, kinds of estoppel. There are three kinds of estoppel. Estoppel is of three kinds. First kind, estoppel of record or quasi order. Estoppel of record or quasi of record arises. My dear friends, in this first kind there are 3 points. I am taking first point. And you can say the first point of kind first. Where an issue of fact has been judicially determined in a final manner between the parties by a tribunal having jurisdiction in the matter, and same issue comes directly in question in subsequent proceeding between the same parties. My dear friends, you see, this is the same language just like in res judicata. This is the first part of first kind. Now I am taking second part of first kind. My dear friend, second point of kind first, where the first determination was by a court having exclusive jurisdiction, and the same comes incidentally a question in subsequent proceedings between the same parties. This is the second point. Third point of first kind, in some cases where an issue of fact affecting the status of a person or thing has been necessarily determined in final manner as a substantive part of a judgment in rem of a tribunal having jurisdiction to determine that status of a person or thing has been necessarily determined in final manner as a substantive part of a judgment in rem of a tribunal having jurisdiction to determine that status, and the same issue comes directly in question in subsequent civil proceeding between any parties. This implies where the earlier decision is that of a court of record. The resulting estoppel is said to be of record. Where it is of any other tribunal by the agreement of between the parties or otherwise, the estoppel is said to be quasi of record. Here, my dear friends, this is the in final quasi of record and of record, court of record or of record. And this is the conclusion where the earlier decision is that of court of record. That resulting estoppel is said to be of record. where it is of any other tribunal by agreement of parties or otherwise, the estoppel is said to be causa of record. This these 3 points are the conclusion of the first kind of estoppel. So, my dear friends, this is the first kind of estoppel, doctrine of estoppel, you can say. So, the gist or conclusion of this first kind of estoppel is this in the last 3 lines. So, I am taking next second kind. My dear friends, now the second kind of doctrine of estoppel. The second kind of doctrine of estoppel is estoppel by deed. Now, in this kind, wherein a deed made between party and verified by their seal, there is a statement of fact, an estoppel results and is called estoppel by deed. This is the second point in short. If upon the true construction of the deed, the statement is that of both or all the parties, the estoppel is binding on each party. If otherwise, it is only binding on the party making it. It seems that an estoppel also arises upon a deed, all the mode of its execution, on all the mode of its execution being equally solemn with that of deed made inter parties. Estoppel by deed is based on the principle that when a person has entered into a solemn engagement by deed under his hand, he shall not be permitted to deny any matter which he has so asserted. It is a rule of evidence according to which certain evidence is taken to be so high and conclusive a nature as to admit of no contradictory proof. I think, my dear friend, this is the clear. This is the second kind of doctrine of estoppel, and now I am going to take the third kind of doctrine of estoppel. My dear friends, the third kind of doctrine of estoppel. What is third kind? Estoppel in pies, or it means estoppel by conduct. An estoppel may be by words or estoppel may be by conduct. But this third kind is estoppel by conduct or estoppel in pies. What is the third kind? Where one has either by words or conduct made to another a representation of fact, either with the knowingly of its falsehood or with the intention that it should be acted upon or has so conducted himself that another would, as a reasonable man, understand that a certain representation of fact was intended to be acted on, and that other has acted on the representation and thereby altered his position to his prejudice, an estoppel arises against the party who made the representation, and he is not allowed to cover that the fact is otherwise than he represented it to be. My dear friends, I think The language of the third kind is very clear, and this is an estoppel by conduct, and how this acts you have seen in this third part, third kind. So, the third kind of estoppel is estoppel in pious or estoppel by conduct. So, my dear friends, I have defined three kinds of doctrine of estoppel and its definition in second part also. I think this second question is also clear to you. Definition of doctrine of estoppel and all the three kinds of doctrine of estoppel. In first question, definition of doctrine of estoppel and what are the essential. It means I want to tell you there were three different essential, three kinds and three essential in both first and second question. So these two questions are interrelated each other, and these two questions are both important. May come either definition with essentials or definition with kinds. So in the last, my dear friend, again I want to make a request to you. Please subscribe the channel. I shall be very thankful to you.